everyone, welcome to soldering for the dance suit. My name is Tate, and I'm going to show you how to solder and make those connections you're going to need in order to make your dance suit fully functional. Some of the materials you're going to need are basic wire here, your rosin here, which helps get those joints together, with your soldering iron, as well as some copper tape to make those connections, and the L wire itself. This is a piece of scrap that I'm going to use because I don't really want to waste any other wire. You're also going to need some strippers as well. I'm using just a really sharp knife that works. It's just mine are not adequate. So let's get into it. So first we're going to do a wire-to-wire solder. First we have 2 pieces of solid wire. Okay, now I'm going to strip them because this is the way that I like to do it. So now we have these 2 wires here, and I'm going to show you just the simple sort of soldering techniques here. You have your basic solder, right? And usually it's nice to have a little bit of fling it up. It's pretty malleable. You can pretty much put it wherever you want. We're going to have it right here. So what you want to do here is you have your solder. Take your soldering gun. You need a little bit. Don't want to put your hand underneath that. A little bit just built up on the tip here, and then just lay it down. You can really use however much you want, but really this is all that's required. Not even this much. Put it away. Give it a second. And there you go. There's one side. You can do the other side. If you want to be safe, it really won't hurt. Do the other side as well. So now you have something that is really freaking strong. And that is how you solder, just 2 normal wires. Now I'm going to show you L wire to L wire, and how we did that is we connected it via actual wire itself, because you want to be very careful when soldering L wire to L wire, because if you cross the copper wire with the bottom layer, that bottom wire within the L wire itself, it will short out and it will not work. And it is really a pain when that happens. It happened here to this piece. We couldn't figure out what was going on with the suit, or where the problem was, because usually with L wire, when there's a break, the light goes until that break, because the wires don't have to have a continuous loop. They will just go as long as the phosphorescence is lit up there. And so what happened here is we had a short where there was a part of the wire had, I guess, exploded or shorted, and those wires crossed, and so we could not figure out where the short was in the suit. So what we had to do is we had to snip part of the one big section of the wire in half, test which side worked. Whatever side didn't work, had to snip that in half, test both sides, had to snip that in half, both sides, and did that until we came up with this little guy right here. And then, mending all of those L wire pieces together, that took, was very, very time consuming, to say the least. So I would definitely recommend being very careful when soldering L wire to L wire. Be very careful and aware of where the copper wires are opposed to where your base wire is. What you're going to need here is you're going to need two pieces of wire. One for the base wire, which is underneath the fluorescence here, and then one for the 2 little bitty wires right here. Looking at the wire here, this is all you have. You want to be very careful because the 2 wires inside, the two very thin wires that go on the outside of the fluorescence, are very sensitive. So what you want to do is, see, I'm doing this here. When you're stripping it, you want to be very careful because you're just trying to get you're just trying to get the outside plastic part open. And okay. So now that you have that, the little fun little guy came off. And now what we want to do here, there's this fine layer of fluorescence here, this little guard here, and essentially what you want to do is you need to look very closely to see that you're not actually cutting the wires themselves. This is a very delicate process that you want to be very careful about, because they cut very easily, and once you cut them, you need to keep going further and further back until until they're not cut. So I see this here, so I'm going to take off. This is when using a knife is very helpful. So you have this right here is the fluorescent part, and usually laying on the edge of this wall here are the two little guys. Okay, you have now taken this part out, taking this other plastic part. So this is the second layer, as you are seeing it. It's really not necessary. It's kind of annoying. I would say just snip it and get rid of it. So you still have your two wires here, as well as your phosphorescent wire here. Now you have those two wires here. So what we're gonna do is you want to take your copper wire, or your copper tape rather, and we went everywhere looking for this stuff. We actually found it at Home Depot, and it's used to keep like moles out. I don't really know, or sorry, snails. I'm not really quite sure how, but you really don't need a whole lot. We're talking like the smallest piece here. So you take this off here, and because you want to make sure that these things are continually separated, what you're going to do is you're going to keep these wires up here. Just roll a little layer here. Okay. And then, see this here? This is going to go here. The two little bitty wires, they're going to go onto the copper wire, or onto the copper rather. And as long as they're on that copper, anywhere that you attach your actual wire to the copper, it will conduct that electricity and put it where it needs to be. So now you have this little guy. This little guy that has the phosphorescence on the top. Okay? So what you want to do here is you want to be very careful again, and you want to scrape that fluorescence off, because you want to get down to the wire underneath it. And it is that wire underneath it that works with these other two wires to send electricity through and light up this guy. Now you can go just L wire to L wire, but it's kind of a pain. More of a pain than making your two connecting wires. See, because you're going to have this here. You're going to have these two little bitty wires soldered to this actual copper wire here. And you're going to have your other side of the wire itself that looks just like this. You're going to have to go through that whole process again to make these two connect. So say this whole big piece right here was in between two pieces that essentially did this. You remove the center part, and now you have to reconnect these two pieces. This is important if you have a break, in your wire, and you'll see that the light goes until that spot, and then it just stops working. In that case, you're going to have to just remove that break and then solder these two pieces of the L wire together. So when that happens, it is much easier in order to keep that separation between these two wires. This is very helpful. All right, everybody. So got this alligator clip here, and this is like a third hand. Something I was trying to do earlier was do that and solder at the same time. Much more difficult. This is a lot easier. So have our solder here, poking up just a little bit, giving us a little bit of space. Then we get our little bit of solder here on the tip there, and then. So now that we have this here soldered onto the copper wire itself, it's still very hot, obviously. Got a solid solder here. something that we did not do, which we should do, is make sure that the two little wires are actually soldered to the copper itself there. A little bit of solder. After that, we want to now solder to our other wire. This is going to be this guy here. You can do that a number of ways. Either put this in there, or really just solder it to one of the many of these wires. Choose to get a little bit of rosin here. So, just to review what we've done here, we have taken a piece of L wire, okay? Taking a piece of L wire, we have taken off the outer plastic coating around it, and that inside, and then we have found another plastic coating which holds both the inner core wire as well as the phosphorus that is lining outside of that. So now this is something that's very important, is that it does not matter if you have this copper touching this copper or this main core wire touching this main core wire. All that matters is that you don't cross them, because that will create a short. You can have, say, this copper here connected to this guy, connected to the end here, the tip. As long as there's a constant connection where the electrical current can go through and light up the wire, it will happen. So because of how this is, I've just decided to put the end on this one. So I'm going to figure to do this. That's in there. We're going to get some solder. Set there, that's that connection. Now we just need to make this one to the copper, and we will be set and ready to go. Should also mention something. It is also important that before you make this final connection, you put your heat sink on the edge here. And you make your connection, slide it over, light it, and it will solidify itself. So this is your connection. That is how you solder together L wire. Hey guys, so we've now gone over the different kinds of soldering, from wire to wire as well as L wire to L wire. I want to make it clear one more time also that it is not important when you're going from an L wire to an L wire to have those meet identically. As long as there is a current going through, it will still turn on. You just want to be sure that these two do not touch, because that will create the short, the problem that we ran into. But that should be everything. Best of luck to you guys, and learn something, mess around with it, experiment. It's really a learning process, but it's definitely doable.